Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this video, I'm going to take a look at the top 11 best decks in Hearthstone after the Kazakusan Nerf and the SI7 Smuggler Nerf. I had great hopes for the Kazakusan Nerf. They did remove the best treasure logos from Kazakusan, but it looks like Kazakusan just shrugged it off and it actually hasn't made much of a difference. The SI7 Smuggler Nerf looks a little bit more effective actually, and Quest Rogue is struggling. Rogue overall as a class right now is struggling. Looking at these top 11 decks and looking at what I presented as top 13 decks a little bit more than a week ago, well, 7 of these lists are exactly the same as they were a little bit over a week ago. There are some changes in 4 of them, including a couple of interesting ones that I will discuss in a little bit more detail. Anyway, starting right up as number 11, Bolner OTK Shaman. Its big problem is that, Burn Shaman just does everything a bit better than Bolner OTK pretty much. But Bolner OTK Shaman, still, if you like this slower, this sort of combo control style of gameplay, eventually if you survive you are going to kill anything because you have infinite damage combo. So if that's the approach that you like to the game, Bolner OTK Shaman, still a deck that you can climb with the legend. And coming in at number 10, another similar deck, the slow decks. The slow decks are still viable. Control Warrior still hanging on. I've been waiting like, when is Control Warrior going to fall off the list? But it just seems to keep going. There are plenty of aggro decks in the game to counter all the ramp druids. Control Warrior is farming those aggro decks. And then Control Warrior has its own wing addition as well in Kazakusan. When there was a new card, one card that you can put into your deck and that's your win condition, Control Warrior is like, yeah, I'm on board with this, let's just roll. I put in a bunch of removal and then this one card for my win condition and let's go. And I thought that would not be able to carry the archetype, but it seems that it's still hanging on. And coming in at number 9 is the best current Warlock deck, and that is still OwlTK Warlock. Quest Hand Warlock finally fell off. OwlTK Warlock now actually pretty strong anti-aggro deck, just clearing that stuff and then boom boom boom. But it obviously does have the problem in the current meta that it is weak to ramp druid, so that's a thing. But yeah, even OTK decks, still playable, still climbable, all the way to legend. And number 8 is Ramp Druid, and this is pretty interesting, because like Ramp Druid is the most popular deck in the game. And I'm currently recommending Ramp Druid. Last week I was recommending Spell Druid. It looked like, hey, Spell Druid is going to be good. Spell Druid is favored in the mirror, Druid mirror. Spell Druid beats Ramp Druid because of Glowfly Swarm, so okay, that should be something. But now that the meta is stabilizing, it starts to look like it's actually better to just put as much ramp into your deck as possible. So Ramp Druid is running double Wild Growth, double Overgrowth, Wild Heart Gov. That's a lot of ramp. Just try to ramp up real fast, try to stabilize after you have ramped up. With cards like Cenarian Ward, with cards like maybe Malygos and Ironbark or something, with cards like Scale of Onyxia. Running Scale of Onyxia seems to be very important, running Cenarian Ward seems to be very important. The best performing Spell Druid lists are those that are also running Cenarian Ward. So Spell Druid decks that don't run Cenarian Ward, they are not doing very well at all. Spell Druid lists that do run Cenarian Ward, I didn't include them in this list because they just seem a little bit weaker than these decks. And it looks like Ramp Druid right now is the optimal choice if you want to play a Druid deck based on Kazakusan. And at number 7, we have the archetype that has underwent the most changes in the past week, and this is really intriguing actually. Quest Hunter. Quest Hunter is pretty good at the moment, of course it's on this list, you can play this deck to legend. And Quest Hunter, I used to play these multicaster builds, and multicaster builds are still doing fine. And then there was a little bit of thought, okay, well, multicaster with Furious Howl, or maybe just Furious Howl as your card draw, what's going to be the solution? And it looks like the optimal solution is actually to use Furious Howl, and then instead of multicaster, use Drekthar for card draw. So in this deck, for example, Drekthar is going to pull Professor Slate, and it's going to pull Blood Mage Talnos. And if you play Drekthar on turn 5, you still have 1 mana left over, so you can still shoot something with your poisonous spell. And you also get that spell damage and card draw on the board. Slate is a threat that needs to be removed, Drekthar is a threat that needs to be removed. This was quite an unexpected development, but a pretty intriguing one, because there's still innovation going on even in this meta, and Quest Hunter is at the center of that innovation right now. And it will be interesting to see if Quest Hunter lists keep on evolving from this point on as well. At number 6 we have Aggro Shadow Priest. Aggro Shadow Priest is still a strong deck, it has advantages against Ramp Druid, it's good against some of the other aggro decks, but decks like Beast Druid, OwlTK Warlock have become more popular lately. Aggro Shadow Priest meta is not as favored as it used to be, and decks like Face Hunter are kind of falling off the meta. Actually, Face Hunter is not included in this top list, and that is the first time I haven't included Face Hunter in I don't even remember how long. It's been a long time that Face Hunter has been very strong. Now Face Hunter is struggling. And that's actually not great news for Aggro Shadow Priest, because Aggro Shadow Priest had a great matchup into Face Hunter. But Aggro Shadow Priest overall still doing fine, still using the same list. This list is several weeks old, but it's still the current variant. And with the way the meta is changing, we're also seeing a resurgence of Libram Paladin. Yeah, I thought Libram Paladin was going to be a gunner. It was going down, 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 tick, tick, tick. But now the meta has become a little bit more favorable to it again. I mean, the deck has not changed. There has not been a single card change for Libram Paladin in many, many weeks. But hey, whatever happens around it also affects its performance. Libram Paladin doing pretty well at the moment and coming in at number 5. Whereas the 4th best performing deck at the moment is the more polarized of the aggressive Druid decks, the pure aggro Druid. This Drekthar stuff, Arbor Ups, Oracle of Elune, Battle Guard, just pure in-your-face aggro with all of these taunt minions and copies and buffs and just going in. It's a fine deck, it can close out games very quickly. It's more polarized than Beast Druid though. It either wins fast or it just loses. Whereas Beast Druid has more of these mid-game shenanigans that it can pull off and still win games at that point, even if it fails to finish the game off immediately. But still Aggro Druid, one of the strongest decks in the game at the moment, at number 4. But the resurgence of Paladin also shows in Buff Paladin being the 3rd best deck in the game at the moment. Buff Paladin is better than Libram Paladin still, because it has better matchup into Ramp Druid. You can just get some of those big buff spells and you can smack them in the face before they can respond, more than what a Libram Paladin can do. But Buff Paladin also has numerous weaknesses, and Aggro Druid, Beast Druid and Burn Shaman are pretty nasty weaknesses to have. Overall, it is a very polarized meta. Every deck has strengths and weaknesses, so you can't really avoid that. You just have to hope that you queue into good matchups when you're playing the ladder nowadays. And Buff Paladin is one of the better options. And the 2nd best deck in the game at the moment is Burn Shaman. I thought Burn Shaman was going to rule supreme, but it looks like Burn Shaman has taken a bit of a step down. Its bad matchups have become more popular, stuff like Quest Hunter, Libram Paladin, Control Warrior. So, because every deck in this current meta has weaknesses, it's a very polarized meta. And Burn Shaman looked very dominant, it has a lot of good matchups, but right now, only the 2nd best option to climb, which means that it's still really, really good. But right now, the best deck in Hearthstone is Beast Druid. The best deck in Hearthstone doesn't have a single legendary card in it. Can you imagine that? There are a few really powerful epics though that you have to have, Composting, Oracle of Elune, Frostsaber Matriarch. But still, a very aggressive deck, but also has some huge swing turns in the mid game, so it has a little bit more flexibility than just a pure aggro strategy, and that makes it a little bit more balanced. It doesn't have quite as much polarization as many of the other decks. And even in its weak matchups, it still has a chance, and that's what makes Beast Druid the best deck in Hearthstone at the moment. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Twitch channel.